Hello everyone, my name is Amaya Powell-Hodge Emmanuel, and I'm excited to present my dissertation in practice titled Mission Aligned, Understanding the Impact of Organizational Culture, Policies, and Practices on the Retention and Well-Being of Housing Administrators in Jesuit Higher Education, in consideration for doctoral candidacy in the Ed.D program at Marymount University. So this presentation will cover the following topics and end with a concluding statement. So to provide some introduction and background, student affairs divisions are a dynamic and interconnected ecosystem of support and services for college and university students that really facilitate growth in co-curricular development. There's growing evidence that student affairs practitioners are experiencing stress and burnout at high rates. University housing administrators in particular are in a uniquely demanding work environment characterized by a broad and intense range of responsibilities like providing trauma-informed care, mental health triage, managing interpersonal dynamics, and managing institutional priorities. Studies indicate that over 60% of staff have contemplated leaving their roles in the past year. And emotional exhaustion among staff is high, with 65% of staff reporting feelings of emotional exhaustion at least once a week because of their work. There are 27 Jesuit higher education institutions in the U.S., which represent approximately 1.5% of all private nonprofit colleges and universities. Jesuit education is unique because it centers formative outcomes, and it exists in a really mission-driven context. These institutions are grounded in a foundational commitment to cure personalis, which is Latin for care for the whole person, as a core institutional value. However, very little is known about how these mission imperatives translate to staff experiences and how they affect student affairs housing administrators in particular. As a result, the purpose of this convergent mixed method study is to examine the factors that influence burnout, work-life balance, mission alignment, and retention intentions among housing administrators at Jesuit universities in the United States. The review of literature focused on 4 main sections. The theoretical framework centered organizational mission alignment. This really confirmed for me that systemic alignment has to be intentional, especially within the context of mission-driven institutions. Wiggins and McTighe's backward design theory and Tosti's organizational alignment model served as the foundation for understanding the significance of alignment. The models combined emphasize intentional planning frameworks that underscore organizational culture, process, and task alignment. Understanding the historical context of Jesuit higher education and the role of student affairs administrators is essential for framing the ethical obligations of Jesuit institutions and student affairs leaders in achieving their institutional missions. And the literature revealed that student affairs professionals' research has significantly centered well-being and burnout, work culture, work-life balance, and retention. These themes are the primary focus that ground the study. And lastly, the methodological research indicated that mixed methods and phenomenological methods are appropriate based on the scope of my research study. Studies on these topics have been conducted that focus on faculty experiences or student affairs more broadly. There are a plethora of methodologies represented, while IPA, qualitative thematic analysis, and some quantitative studies were listed as limitations. So the review of literature highlighted 3 key gaps. First, there was limited empirical research examining the lived experiences of Jesuit housing administrators, creating a really critical gap in understanding how they experience burnout and work-life balance. In addition, there was a lack of statistical data to contextualize the attrition rates of this unique population. Second, although mission alignment was highlighted in classroom and student-facing practices, there was an underrepresentation of how mission-aligned policies and practices shape staff-facing contexts. So crisis management, live-in policies and expectations, and well-being resources, as the mission's influence on stressors and retention decisions. Lastly, the literature highlighted the significance of mission imperatives in Jesuit higher education and the impact of student outcomes, yet direct inquiry into Jesuit housing environments for staff remains underexplored. The connection among the theoretical foundations of organizational mission alignment research, Jesuit values, and the themes in the literature on the experiences of student affairs administrators really shaped the conceptual framework you see here. So by adopting a backward design approach, mission-centric institutions such as Jesuit universities can ensure their mission objectives permeate all aspects of institutional functions. So Jesuit values embedded into organizational culture, policies, and practices would naturally influence well-being and retention. The effectiveness of this conceptual framework really relies on the connection of mission and vision, informing processes, tasks, practices, and behaviors to influence results and outcomes. The model emphasizes that organizations must begin with their mission and work backward to achieve true process alignment. So, as a result of the literature review and the problem space, the following 5 research questions really underlie the study. R1, how do housing administrators at Jesuit universities experience burnout, work-life balance, and their decision to remain in or leave their roles? R2, to what extent do burnout and perceived work-life balance predict retention intentions among housing administrators at Jesuit universities? R3, what institutional policies and practices do housing administrators in Jesuit higher education institutions perceive as most effective in mitigating burnout and improving retention? R4, how do Jesuit housing administrators perceive the alignment or misalignment between institutional policies, practices, and the Jesuit mission of holistic care? And R5, what is the relationship between perceived mission alignment and burnout among housing administrators at Jesuit universities? So quantitatively, the study aims to assess the extent to which burnout and perceived work-life balance predict retention intentions, as well as to evaluate the relationship between perceived mission alignment and burnout. Qualitatively, the study seeks to explore how housing administrators at Jesuit institutions experience burnout, navigate work-life balance, and make their decisions about remaining in or leaving their roles. In addition, the qualitative strand investigates administrators' perceptions of institutional policies and practices that effectively mitigate burnout and enhance retention, as well as the perceived alignment of these policies with the Jesuit mission of holistic care. To address the research gaps, the research questions, and the hypotheses, this study employs a convergent, mixed methods, non-experimental descriptive phenomenology. I found this design to be complementary to the research inquiry, as the mixed methods approach enabled both statistical analysis of burnout and retention and exploration of administrators' lived experiences and perceptions of misalignment. The descriptive phenomenology elicits a bottom-up approach, and this was important because it really centralizes the lived experiences of the participants. The use of convergent design is really ideal for exploring under-research phenomena. So in this design, qualitative data and quantitative data are collected and analyzed, then results are merged before being interpreted and compared. So data will be collected using a survey with 48 items, including components of the previously validated Maslach Burnout Inventory General Survey. The study integrates quantitative and qualitative data into a single survey instrument. Here you can see the research questions mapped into the various themes being explored. So there are 10 open-ended qualitative questions and 38 Likert scale items with varying degrees of scales. It also includes an eligibility screening and demographic questions. As for participants and selection, the study will use propulsive sampling, which is a non-random sampling technique in which the researcher identifies a population and deliberately selects participants who meet the defined criteria. The study restricts survey access through an eligibility screening. The target population is current Jesuit housing administrators and those who worked in the field within the past 10 years. Recruitment will occur through direct email and social media recruitment, as well as word of mouth. And the sample size, I'm aiming for at least 30 participants, given that the number of Jesuit Catholic higher education institutions is relatively small compared to the total number of higher ed institutions in the U.S., and to allow for significant statistical power to identify patterns and relationships related to burnout, work-life balance, and retention. To ensure validity, reliability, and trustworthiness, several techniques have been embedded throughout the research design. I started by identifying potential threats to the study and solving for them within my design. So to ensure instrument validation, the MBI General Survey was used to measure burnout. It's a well-known, validated instrument. This is going to ensure that burnout scores are accurately measured, which is important as it serves as one of the variables for both quantitative questions in the study. Studies carried out by Iwanaki and Schwab 1981 and Gold 1984 support its reliability because the three-factor structure and internal reliability. The rest of the instrument within the study are to be reviewed for reliability and validity by professionals within my field to ensure the instrument actually measures what it's intended to measure. Positionality is a really salient factor in my research as I share the same identity with the participants in my study. So journaling and discussions with my lead doctoral faculty mentor and committee member will be a primary tactic in mitigating bias through the analysis process. Descriptive bracketing will be employed to suspend preconceptions and truly highlight the essence of participants' experiences. Capturing how the phenomenon is experienced and understood from the participants' perspectives ensures that the themes genuinely reflect the phenomenon as lived by the participants. And lastly, memoing will allow me to document my thoughts and ideas that emerge throughout the data collection and analysis process. This way, I'll be able to see and explain my process, the patterns, the connections with the research, and allow for a detailed and transparent explanation of my process. This is going to support credibility, reflexivity, transferability, and the depth of my research. The data analysis is directly informed by the research questions and the study's mixed methods, descriptive phenomenological design. The qualitative analysis follows Braun and Clark's inductive thematic analysis design. In this approach, I will familiarize myself with the data, generate initial codes, search for themes, and review the themes, define and name the themes, and write the report. This method is widely used in education research, and it's ideal for exploring under-research phenomena because it allows themes to be strongly linked to the data rather than being forced into pre-existing theoretical framework. I plan to upload survey responses into Delve, which is a computer-assisted qualitative data analysis software to organize my coding and themes. Descriptive, in vivo, and emotion codes are 3 interrelated coding types that will guide and ground the coding process. The quantitative research questions will be analyzed using SPS software. For R2, I'll conduct a multiple regression analysis. This is informed by the research questions that I'm attempting to determine the relationship between one continuous dependent variable, which is retention intentions, and 2 independent variables, which are burnout and work-life balance. For R5, I'm going to use the Pearson correlation coefficient, pending that there are no outliers present within the data. This will allow me to understand the linear relationship between mission alignment and burnout and test whether there is a significant relationship between the 2 variables. If there are outliers, then I'll use Spearman's rank correlation coefficient. As for my DIP timeline, my Marymount IRB was approved on February 4th, and I'll begin data collection as soon as my instruments are validated, with the hopes of completing it by March 15th. Shortly after my data collection phase, I'll work through data analysis and reporting to complete my Chapter 4 draft, then write Chapter 5 and complete the DIP process by August of 2026. It was important for me to choose a design that would allow a deep exploration of these practitioners in a way that honored their experiences and told their authentic story. I chose the mixed method design because I wanted to be able to quantify their experience, to share a robust and compelling narrative about how Jesuit housing admin are experiencing their work and navigating the tension of serving students in what I feel like is a rewarding mission-driven context while battling with burnout and balance. Jesuit institutions occupy a really unique space in the ethos of American higher education, distinguished by an established history of mission-centric practices that permeate institutional culture, policy, and practice. Jesuit higher education administrators have a unique perspective that I believe is worth exploring. Through this mixed methods research approach, the depth of the data gathered has the potential to inform policies and practices that effectively support staff and university leadership in achieving alignment between institutional mission imperatives and employee experiences, particularly within this understudied population. So these are my references for your review. Here are my appendices. Thank you so much for your time and attention, and I look forward to your feedback.